Today we're talking about building a pitching delivery capable of throwing 100 miles an hour. If you want to throw 100, you need to be maximizing linear momentum toward the plate. But here's the thing, I'm not going to just tell you to push off the rubber or move quick down the mound, because that's just not what you need. What you need is to understand the 3 most efficient ways to create momentum down the mound and actually transfer that to the throw. And I'll even guarantee that after you watch this video, you'll start to think about momentum down the mound differently. By the way, I'm Josh Gessner. I've been up to 98 miles an hour in my professional baseball career, and I'm on my way to throw 100 miles an hour, so I think about this stuff all day. Now let's get into the 3 ways to maximize your momentum down the mound. All right, so the first step is the initial move in your leg lift, and this is called, the drift, and you've probably heard this before. But basically, it's to shift your center of mass forward during your leg lift, right? And it's a very basic concept, but basically, if you imagine your center of mass, where the most weight of your body is, right, then if I'm standing right here, it'd be like in the middle of my body, right? If I was on one leg, then it would be all on one leg. If I was on this leg, it'd all be on this leg. But basically, we want to shift it forward during our leg lift. And so what this basically means is, if it's right here right now, we want to make sure that it's going forward during our leg lift. We don't want it to be like a balance point right here, obviously, and we want to actually have it going forward. And this is something that I made a mistake on pretty much my whole career, which was, really getting into my back leg and having more like a balance point. This is what got me to throwing 95, because I was very, very explosive with my lower body and I could actually power out of that. But the problem became, okay, if you're actually getting into a balance point, right? And now what's the next thing that you can do? Well, it's just to drop straight down. You're going straight down. It becomes like a drop and drive delivery. And there are people who throw hard like that. And again, I got up to throwing 95 like that. But the problem becomes, it's very, very stressful on the body if you're doing that every single time, because all you can do from here is you really need to muscle out of that, right? You need to be very, very explosive in the lower body to be able to do that. And, over the course of a season, you're throwing a bunch of pitches, it gets very tiring, right? And so what the drift actually does, it's free energy. It's basically, you're just going like this and you're creating that linear momentum with no effort, basically. It's just a positioning thing. If you position yourself to be, getting your linear momentum, getting your weight shifted, then it's just free energy at that point. And so it's not like you have to muscle out of it, right? Then another thing that is really bad with the balance point is that you get stuck over the rubber. And so, I was able to throw 95 because I have outlier like explosiveness, strength, power in my lower body. But guys who don't have that, if they're at balance point and they're, going straight down, then they might not be able to actually fire out of that and get their pelvis in a position to be able to throw hard, right? And so then that leads to, the pelvis not firing through, no separation, and you can't really throw that hard, right? And so that's kind of why we want to shift our momentum a little bit, because again, it's just free energy. And the whole point of the pitching delivery and the topic for today is to maximize momentum down the mound, right? And the more momentum we can get, the harder, in theory, we are gonna throw. Because think about it, everyone talks about the car crash effect, where this is the car, you're going as fast as you can, and then you're crashing it with the front leg. I kind of like more of the skateboard analogy of like, okay, if you imagine yourself, you're riding a skateboard, right? And all of this, the momentum down the mound is you just riding the skateboard. And then the front leg is the crash. Imagine you hit like the gutter of on the road or something. You hit something, your skateboard hits something, right? What happens? Well, you are gonna go flying, right? And so that's the analogy that I like to use, which is, this is you riding the skateboard, this is you hitting something, and then the upper body is what gets flown forward, right? And so the quicker you're going, the more force you're able to produce in this phase, the momentum phase, the more violent this crash is gonna be, right? And then the harder the upper body is gonna be catapulted forward, okay? And so basically, there is a caveat to that though, which is, you can't just dial it up you can't just dial up the linear momentum and think you're gonna throw gas, right? Because the pitching delivery, you can have all the linear momentum you want, but if you're not able to block it and stop that momentum, absorb it, and then be able to create that crash effect, then you're not going to throw that hard. And that's why you see guys who are, you know, a little bit heavier, a lot more like bulky. They kind of move a little bit slower, because if they just dialed up their linear momentum and drifted and, you know, did it as quickly as they can, because again, if they just dialed up their linear momentum, they probably wouldn't be able to absorb all of that force, right? And they don't even need all that linear momentum to throw really, really hard, because, you know, they're creating velocity in other ways. But in theory, you do want to maximize your momentum down the mount, right? And the drift is one of the easiest ways to do so if you can sync it up. And this is something that, you know, at the Pitch Lab, we would just give to guys if they're like a good athlete, right? They're good at plyometrics, they're explosive, they have good coordination. Then you can kind of dial up the drift a little bit more, because, you know, they'll be able to absorb it and block it and get in a good position to throw, right? This is something that I'm working on personally, which is my whole life I was balance point and then fire and throw it as hard as I could. And, you know, that got me to the mid 90s, even the upper 90s. But what I'm coming to right now is like, I want to sit upper 90s, I want to throw 100, even harder than 100, right? And so for that to happen, I need to maximize the amount of momentum that I can create down the mountain. And the first step is to add a little bit of weight shift. And so it kind of looks like this in my delivery. So instead of my previous delivery, which was right here, up, bang, it's a lot slower here, right? It's kind of like a gradual buildup. Now what I'm patterning is more of a drift and then get down the mountain. It's going to look more like this. So, okay, basically, as soon as you're lifting your leg, this is shifting forwards. It's going forwards. The tempo is up. It's a lot less effort as well. One thing that I didn't mention was that if you're a balance point and you're getting in here and you're trying to explode out of it, that was creating a lot of lower back injuries for me. A lot of lower back pain, because I was just jamming my lower back, right? That's the problem. I did, you know, the triple extension stuff, and that's the problem with it, is that one, it's so much effort, right? It's not really sustainable to be throwing really, really hard for a long period of time if you're really trying to muscle out of it. And also, you're just jamming your lower back at that point. Like, you're doing this every single time, right? Instead of it just being like more of a relax and then throw. That's the first thing with the drift. You want to maximize the drift, but again, there's a sweet spot with every different athlete. And so that is number one. A couple things to actually work on the drift. Well, I would just do it, you know, with dry reps, medicine ball stuff, plyo ball stuff, and a lot of your drills, right? I'm not really like a drill guy where it's like, oh, feel this, and then no, it's like, just get in front of the mirror, right? And kind of see yourself, okay, where is my weight? All right, let's just get that forward a little bit, and then go, okay? And then you can just get that feel, because a lot of this is teaching your brain that it's okay to drift. It can be very scary, because it feels like you're just gonna fall on your face, right? And so just by starting with dry reps, that's when you can kind of reprogram your mind to be like, okay, it's fine to drift. Like if you're used to all of this, then it's gonna feel scary. So just dry reps. Even right now, this is what I'm doing. Just bang. All right, that feels good. All right, now I might grab like a plyo ball, right? Plyo ball, and it's bang. All right, and then you can do it with a medicine ball, right? Or even just like light mount throws, and that's how you can incorporate that. All right, so the second thing to actually maximize your momentum down the mountain is obviously the back leg, right? Once you're shifting your momentum, you need to be able to get into your back leg, because that's what's gonna power the momentum. And the kind of feeling that you should kind of get is like a burst of energy, right? So it's not like here where you balance point and you're building up to it, you're shifting your weight, and then that should be like a burst of energy. The back leg is like more of like an impulse. It's a burst of energy rather than it's just being like a slow build-up. So Trevor Bauer talks about this a lot, which is the drift drop with the back leg, right? But there's a caveat to that where, you know, not many people talk about, which is the drop can't be just straight down. Because if you're just dropping straight down, right, even if you drift, you're still not going to be able to maximize the momentum down the mountain. And so what you kind of need to create is more of an angled back leg, right? So that when you actually drop into it, it's more of a burst of energy that way instead of just straight down. Because studies are showing with the force plate stuff, the hardest throwers, right? Yes, they put a lot of force into the ground, but they also put a lot of force that way, right? This way, so that it's catapulting them and putting energy through the target, okay? And so what this basically means is we need to create something like this, which is more of an angle. It can't just be like straight down. It's angled right here, okay? And now when we do that, we're actually getting into the back hip, right? We're getting into the back hip, we're dropping into that. It's angled so that, like, if you do this and you feel it, you're falling this way. It's not just straight down. It's more like, instead of like a vertical jump, right? Vertical jump, you're right here and you're trying to go up, right? If I were to do a skater jump, right? And I know that it's subtle, but it is a very big, important distinction to where you need to drop into a back leg that's actually angled slightly this way, right? Instead of it just being straight down to actually create the amount of force going that way. We are drifting and then we are dropping into the back leg, right? I actually really do like the drop analogy because that's kind of what you're trying to feel, is like you're dropping into the back leg instead of it being like an active push, right? It's more of a relaxed drop into the back leg because, and you might be like, oh, well, like, you know, we're trying to put as much force into the ground, you know, both down and that way, right? And for that, you need to be muscled up, right? But the thing is, like, if you were to do a vertical jump, right, and you want to jump as high as you can, right? Well, you're going to be relaxed on your way down, right? The quicker you go down, the higher you can jump, and that's, you know, scientifically proven. And so that's kind of what we want to emulate in the pitching delivery with the back leg, is that we want to like relax into it. We want to drop into it, okay? And by doing that, we're putting force into the ground, not only vertically, but horizontally as well. And so just to recap, it's you're shifting your weight and then you are relaxing into your back leg, right? To get that burst of energy going forwards. So the third way to maximize momentum down the mound is to actually track through the target. And this might sound obvious, but there's this great study that Tom House did back in the day where 80% of your velocity comes from hip to shoulder separation, right? The separation that you create, the stretch in this oblique sling, right? And then you're feeling that stretch and then it catapults you. It accounts for about 80% of pitching velocity. But what the rest of the 20% is, and most people think is, oh, it's got to be the legs and everything. No, what the 20% is how well you can actually direct your energy through the target. And so there's a big misconception nowadays of like, okay, all you want to do is like, you know, do all your lower body stuff and then rotate as hard as you can. And that's creating a lot of this happening, right? Where it's very like rotational and you're just trying to pull your glove side like this and then just whip your arm, right? That's not really the way you want to go about it. The way you want to go about it is you want to track everything through the target. You want to be going through the target. Okay, and this is how you maximize all that linear momentum that you created with the back leg. Okay, we don't want to, you know, leak energy this way. We want to make sure that everything is going toward the target. We need to stop all of this rotation, and then it has to convert all into energy going through the target. Now, how do we do that? There's a couple ways of doing this. For this video, we're not going to talk about the rotate phase because we're talking about momentum down the mound strictly for today. This is what it kind of looks like if you've done it properly. You know, you've created the linear momentum, you've shifted your weight, you've got that burst of energy down the mound, and now you're blocked right here, right? And then you're here. Let's just say you're here. Now the last part to the momentum down the mound is actually how your trunk moves, okay? And so how you want it to happen is for this trunk, right, to actually stop momentum right here. It's almost like the glove side and the front side is like a wall, okay? It's like a wall and it's stopping everything right here. The oblique is crunching, it's right here, and everything is stopped. And now all that has to happen is because of the car crash effect is boom, it's propelling your arm forward through the target, right? It's not pull the glove and then it's everything is stopping and then it's through the target, okay? And the big thing that you want to do here is to keep your head on the target, okay? And what this actually helps you do It's to track toward the target. If you're pulling off like this, you're leaking energy because the energy is coming through here. And you look at some of the hardest throwers, right? Yamamoto, Misarowski does it really, really well. He's someone who is throwing gas and is a big time topic right now. Is when you see his headers and his torso, it's just tracking through the target, right? It's like right there. It's not like, oh, bang, bang, like that, because you're leaking energy, right? And that's something that, I kind of fell into the trap of because, I did a lot of pivot pickoffs and everything like that. And what that kind of did was create this, right? And be very rotational. And it was, my upper half was kind of moving like this, which I came to realize, especially to throw really, really hard, it's not safe and it's not the most efficient way of doing things, right? And so you want to really be here and everything needs to stop here. The trunk stops, right? It blocks, it's kind of like a wall, right? It's like a wall here and the glove arm doesn't really pull like this. It can even be inside. You look at like Roki Sasaki, this is what he does, is everything is blocking and his glove hand is like inside his front leg, right? And so everything's blocking and it's almost like here and then you're just throwing here. And everything is tracking through the target instead of spinning off, right? And that's how you maximize all of that momentum that you created and not leak it toward, the side or anything like that. It's all going through the target. Even with lower arm slot guys, right? You look at some guys like Taisei Ota. He's a guy who does this really well, is everything is still through the target even when he's like a very low arm slot, right? He's right here, everything's blocking, and then everything is still through the target. It's not like some sidearm guys throw it like this, and then they just whip it. So those are the 3 ways to maximize momentum down the mountain. And these are the things that I'm working on and I'm thinking about when I'm maximizing my chance to get into, the upper 90s and the 100 mark. And so if this is something you need help with, you can book a call. First link in the description below, and we'll come up with a plan for you. All right, so when we talk about linear momentum, I wanted to talk a little bit about Jacob Misarowski, who does this so well, and he's in the big leagues. He throws, in the low hundreds right now. And so I wanted to break his mechanics down just a little bit for you guys. And so when we talk about the drift, right, this is something that Misarowski does really well where, okay, so he's at his peak leg lift right here, right? And now, where is his center of mass? Okay, so if we bring it back a little bit, okay, his center of mass, all of his weight is pretty much, I would say right in here, okay? But then as he moves down the mountain, you can really see how he's moving forward toward the target. He's shifting, and look at that. That's peak leg lift. He's already shifted all of his weight, and a lot of it is like right here now, okay? And so he's shifted his weight, he's drifted really well, and now he is creating this angle with his back leg to be a little bit more linear, right? If we go back a couple frames, his back leg was straight up and down right here. But as he moves down the mountain, as he drifts, he's able to create a force vector that's a little bit more diagonal, okay? And now what this creates, what he can do now is he can just drop into that back leg. Do you see that drop? Drop. It's not like a tense thing. He's not trying to do too much. He's just dropping into that back leg, okay? Drop. Now that's probably at his max knee flexion. And look at this. Look at the angle of his back leg. That's what we want to see. Is we don't want to see the angle of his back leg be like straight up and down, right? We don't want it to be like right here. We want it to be like he is, more diagonal, which helps with the linear momentum going that way toward the target, okay? And so he's just dropping and relaxing into that back leg like we talked about. And with this force vector, it's just putting so much energy toward the target rather than straight down, right? It's more of like this type energy instead of just being it like down and then trying to go forward, okay? And so that's the big thing that he does really well, is that it's drifting. And this is a byproduct of the drift, okay? He's drifting really well to shift his center of mass right here, shift. Now he's able to drop in, okay? And now all he has to do is get to the front leg. And again, there's no active pushing with the
back leg, right? There's no, there's no triple extension or anything. His knee is still bent. His ankle is still there. There's no active triple extension happening. It's just he's getting to his front foot and now he's ready to fire. Okay, we can't really see the exact time his foot lands, but I would say it's just around here. And so he's created so much linear momentum because of the drift. Firstly, the drift, and then now he just relaxes down into it. And now he just has that car crash effect into the front leg without him having to have to, triple extend this back leg or anything. Okay. And now what he does extremely, extremely well from here is, okay, now he has a lot of rotational energy, right? This is the hip to shoulder separation. The stretch from here to here that everyone talks about. But now what you need to do is convert that to linear momentum, right? And so what he does so well is that he's able to transfer all of this energy right through the target. And there's a slow motion video that's coming up, which we can see it even better. And you can even see this, like, look at his weight shift right here. It's so much further out than when he started, right? This is the rubber. And if he started here, he shifted so much weight. And then he's just able to drop into a back leg that's angled, right here. It's angled, which is going to lead to so much linear momentum going this way. Okay, so now he's got so much linear momentum going and has got like this burst of energy from the back leg because he relaxed down. And now he gets to the front foot, all of this rotational energy, right? With the hip to shoulder separation, pelvis, rib cage separation, whatever you want to call it, right here. And then what he does extremely, extremely well is direct all of that through the target. And you can actually see it better with this view where, okay, he is loading. Okay, now he's at front foot, bang. Now this is all rotational energy, right? But he wouldn't throw as hard if he just pulled off that way and just rotated as hard as he could because, he's leaking energy. He needs to be able to bring all of this and stop this rotational energy, right? And convert it to linear energy, okay? And energy toward the target. And so this is what he does so well. If we go frame by frame, is that, okay, he is coming through, his linear energy is stopping right there, okay? All of this, the block is happening with his front leg and his glove side. It's like a wall right here. And now all he has to do is propel everything, look at that, through the target. It's just right through the target. And what he does so well is watch his head, okay? His head stays going toward the target. Bang, it's still through. What you see with a lot of guys is that they pull their head, right, to the side where their head might be like way over here because they're trying to rotate and really pull, right? But what he does so well is be able to transfer that rotational energy through the target. And that's one of the reasons why is able to throw so hard. If you need help with any of this stuff, pitching mechanics, anything like that, top link in the description where our guys gain at least 3 to 5 miles an hour. At least. A lot of guys have gained, reader. If you need help with any of this stuff, pitching mechanics, pitching velocity, getting to the next level, top link in the description. Our guys gain an average of 3 to 5 miles an hour and many have gained even more. And so if you need help with that, click the link in the description, book a call with our team, and I'll see you there.